Hey guys, so today I felt a little compelled, I don't know why exactly, to show you a little bit about how to change the fluid in a Toyota Rav 2019 with a sealed transmission. And I'm gonna say that a lot of times, you'll hear that term, sealed transmission, and you never have to change the fluid ever, or for the life of the car that you own the car. Well, I'm going to tell you that that's a bunch of malarkey. That's not entirely true. So let's get right into it. First thing you got to do if you're going to change the fluid on a sealed transmission is you have to make sure that the car is level. And as you can see here, I have a jack stand there. I have a hydraulic stand over there. For extra safety, I put a jack stand here, where there is also a lift point right under there to lift it at. Another jack stand there, and there are also jack stand points on each side of the car, on all four sides, and then another hydraulic stand here. Some might say that's a little overkill, but it's better to be overkill on the lift of a car and be safe and come out alive than to be under the car and something happen. Okay, so the reason why we have to raise the car is because we have to get under the transmission. We have to pull up pull out the panel, the shroud that's underneath there. The other thing that we need to do, and let me show you here, is, and this is real important, guys, this is probably, the whole reason to lift it is to get under, but also to make certain that the car is level. So what I do is I take a little level, just like that, and I make sure it's level. See? So you put it on a flat point of the roof, and that will tell you if the car is level. I may even also do it this way to make sure that the car is level. See? Okay. So I've got all four stands all around the car, and the car is level. I may cut out on this video so that I can set up the camera to go underneath and show what I do. But then the next thing we got to do is we got to take this panel off. This will gain us access, which I took off a little bit, to a nut that's in here. Let's see, where is that nut? It should say WS on it. It's right over there in the corner, where you pour the transmission fluid. All right, so I'm gonna take this rivet out, and there's some rivets underneath this shroud that's under here that I'm gonna need to take out, and it's this shroud here. No, I'm sorry, it's this one. I'm gonna take those rivets out there, and we are going to get back. Okay, so we're under the car now, guys. And the way you take off these little rivets is you can use a little pick tool just like this and place it under they're not really called rivets, but that's what they're called. And then you pull it out, that little fastener, and then it should just come right out, all right? I have several of these to take off on this shroud here, okay? So, and this is why you need to make certain that your vehicle is supported properly, okay? And this is, I would say, probably more or less the same process with, oh, see, I broke that one. That's another reason why you keep extra, sorry. I broke that right in there. A little hard to work with a phone and then do this at the same time, guys. So it is what it is. I'm gonna have to come back to that. So I'm gonna take this shroud off. It comes with a couple of 10 millimeter bolts as well. I'm gonna take everything off, and then we'll get back. Okay, guys, I am so sorry for the shaking of this phone, but so now put it like this. I'm taking off these 10 millimeters. Just like that. You see how that's starting to come off now? Hopefully you can. And then there's some up front. that. Okay, so let's show you where we're at here. So you can see how I had this. Let me take it out here so you can tell. Okay, so you see how I took off that shroud there? There were some 10mm bolts, as well as some of those these fasteners here that I took off. There's still a couple of bolts over there that I need to take off. I think there's one over here somewhere. I think it's in there somewhere. So let me get those off and just give me a moment. All right, so this is the shroud that I took off that covered the transmission as well as the oil pan. This is the oil pan access area. So you can actually, when it's time to change the oil, you just take off this section, and you have access to the oil pan and I believe the filter. And so this is the way it looks once everything is off. Okay, see that? And then over here, where is it? Right there. Right here is your drain plug for your transmission fluid. So we got a drain plug here, right? And then we have a fill plug right there where it says WS. I don't know if you can see that nut over there to the left. It says WS. All right, let me get set up and take off this stuff here. Just a second. Take off the nuts, drain the fluid, and then give you some more information. I'll be back. Okay, guys. So this fill nut here, right there, that's a 24mm. Under here is, I believe that's a 6mm. Let me see here. Yeah, 6mm. Let's see here. Doesn't say. 10mm. Sorry. It's a 10mm hex. Okay. So, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drain this fluid into oh, where did I put it? Let's see here, guys. Oh, here we go. Okay. I'm going to drain this fluid into this container. All right, and I'm doing this just so you know that this changes the day after the car's been parked. So the oil's not hot or anything like that. It may be warm, but it's not hot. And then I'm going to remember exactly, I'm going to see where it fills. Now, I've done this before. So when it drains, after it's finished draining, it should drain at about the 3-quart mark here. I think that's 3 quart. Nope. Yeah, about 3 quarts. Maybe a tad less, maybe a tad more. Okay. So it should drain at about that point. And then what I'm going to do, when I fill it up with new transmission fluid in here, I'm going to go the same amount of quarts that it filled, plus another 1/2 quart. And there is a reason for that. Because the tricky part is, and it's not really tricky once you understand how it works and you actually do this a couple of times, is you have to let the transmission fluid warm up to a certain temperature before you drain it after you filled it. I know it sounds crazy, but there is another plug that's behind this plug. You have this main plug, but then there is another plug inside there that's actually a dipstick plug. Yeah. And what happens is the dipstick plug is at a certain height. And when the transmission fluid gets hot, it expands. It just expands. And so you want that expansion amount to drop into this container, so that when the expanded amount drops, now you have a leveled. Your transmission fluid is leveled to where it needs to be. So it's not overfilled or underfilled. I know it's confusing, but we're going to do this demonstration so you see how this works. Okay. All right. So maybe I can set this up where it's always a challenge. One day I'm just going to have to get something better to do all this. Let's do this. Let's do this. Okay. Oh, sorry, guys. I'm really sorry, but it is what it is. I don't have a fancy setup. Just got a phone. I do have a camera and all, but all right. So let's just do this. There we go. I think you can see it, right? Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna. All right. So we're gonna drop this fluid. Let me go get some rags. And this is how it works for like a seal transmission on a Hyundai. It more or less, okay, so we're gonna drop this fluid. All right, that's it's still kind of warm actually from yesterday. Okay. All right, that's gonna stop. That's not a lot of fluid, guys. You'll see more fluid come out once I drain the other bolt. Now I've already done one change on this. This will be my second. And the reason for that is because I don't want to let's see here. And I think this, to get to that bolt underneath, it takes a 6mm. I can't remember. So what we're gonna do, okay, so now I'm gonna wait until this drains. Now, if I've done this correctly beforehand with the first change, then it should fill to about the 3/4 line. Because I remember when I first dropped this bolt and this fluid, I had about 3 quarts, 3.5 quarts, or 3 1/4 quarts. Okay, so let's just drain that, and then we're gonna go in here. I think it takes a 6mm. I hate getting in there when it's still dripping. Okay, so let it drip, 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 drip. There we go. Now we're gonna put this in. I think it takes 6mm. Good, there we go. It's another drain bolt here. And then that's when it starts coming out. See that? Now, see what I'm talking about, guys? Okay, now that's when most of it comes out. We can take out this little dipstick. Okay? So you've got the main bolt, and then you've got this little measuring dipstick level that comes out as well. Okay, so let me clean this up. Hopefully we did this right. I really hate getting on the cars. I wish I had a lift. I do have a lift, but it's not set up, but it's not really good for this job anyway. So, yeah, we're just at the 3/4 mark, or the 3/4 mark, guys. So that just tells me that I did everything right the first time, because we're at a good level. It's just above. I'm gonna drain all that out. Okay. We're gonna use this again. See, that's the way it looks. Let's see that. Let me set this over here for now, just like that. Let that finish draining. This is similar to dropping a pan and changing fluid on an older vehicle, except it is more detailed. Right. So I'm only doing 2 flushes here. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this first fill plug in / dipstick. Okay. Make sure there's no debris on it or anything. And what's very important here, guys, is you do not want to over tighten this fill plug. All right, this is your dipstick fill plug. You just want to get it to where it's just snug. If you over tighten it, you can there, see, I feel that. Okay, that's good. Now we're going to cover it back up with the other plug. Now, keep in mind I changed the washer on this, so I did buy extra washers when I bought the fluid. Okay, it's a crush washer. That's going to go on there too. And we're not going to tighten it yet, because remember, we're going to have to get the fluid hot in there, so that the excess fluid drops and levels out the new fluid. Okay? This is where it's very important, guys, to make certain that you do this correctly. This is the difference between ruining your transmission, and I'm not tightening it, because actually, we're just gonna do a little, that kind of a tighten thing, because I want to be able to take it off quickly. Okay. All right. Now I'm gonna leave for a second, come back and set up something else here that will allow me to put the fluid into the transmission. Okay. So give me a moment. All right, we're back. So here, let me get a little flashlight in there. Okay, so I have it. I have my system, my line hooked up to the fill plug now, and that line runs all the way to this to this tank system where I filled it about 3.5 quarts of brand new transmission fluid. Okay, now I understand not a lot of you are going to have all these tools to do the job, but you don't need this. You can just use a standard pump system that they sell at AutoZone to fill the transmission, to put the transmission into the, plug with. And they sell them. It's just manual. This is going to be hooked up to a compressor. And because I do a lot of my own auto maintenance in my garage on all the vehicles we have, that's the reason why I have this. Now it will expense and extract, not expense, but dispense and extract fluid. Any fluid, basically you want, oil, transmission fluid, but I just bought it strictly for transmission fluid. So I'm gonna fill my transmission with 3.5 quarts. Okay, then I'm going to start the engine until the transmission fluid gets between 95 and 100 and 114 Fahrenheit. All right, so I'm gonna cut off the video right here, and then I'll be back. And again, having a phone in my hand and doing all this, I can't make a mistake, so I can't be too distracted. I have to make sure I get this in right. So let me go ahead, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hook the compressor up to this. I'm gonna fill this fill plug with my transmission fluid, okay? And I'll get 3.5 quarts in there, and then I will cap it off with the plug, all right, with a new crush washer. All right, we'll be back. Okay, we're back. So basically, I've got the compressor hooked up to this pump system, and I've already have some fluid in there now. And I'm gonna go ahead and dispense all of this fluid in here into the transmission right now. So let me see here. You kind of see how this works. Okay, so I've got the compressor hooked up, guys, to this pump system. You can see I've got a little bit of fluid in there. As soon as I squeeze on that handle, that fluid will start transferring into the transmission here. So let's go ahead and start pumping it. Hopefully it doesn't leak, because I've got this new it's leaking a little bit, which I kind of expected, a drop. It looks like it's going down. I think it's still moving. Okay. Yep, it's getting below the line here. Second quart line. We're just filling it up, guys. That's all we're doing. The last time I did this without the right setup, and I got transmission fluid on the ground, and sometimes that happens even when you're using a manual pump. But like I said, after you do it a couple times, it gets does get easier. You just take your time. And I know it's working because the fluid is dropping. And you want to try and get every ounce of fluid in there, because remember, this is all measured. We measured it. We measured to see how much we got in the container when it dropped, and then we measured it in this container so that we can put the new fluid in. You can tell that it's starting to finish off here. All right, you're doing good. Now it's dripping a lot. Yeah, I gotta tighten that nut next time a little better. All right. Okay, well, it's just a little bit. Let's give you an idea on what this looks like, guys. Let's make sure we got it all out. Looks like we did, for the most part. About a couple of ounces here or there. Okay, I'm gonna take this off. Let's see where I dropped a little bit here. That's because it was dripping out of that plug there. All right, so I'm gonna shut this off and go to the next step, guys. Okay, I'm gonna plug that up. I'm gonna tighten it because this is my last fill. So I'm gonna give it a good tighten. I'm not gonna torque it to spec, anything like that. I'm just gonna make sure it's nice and snug tight, okay? With a new washer, because I don't wanna put a torque wrench on it. So this is just simple. All right, we'll be back. Okay, we're back. So guys, this is the most crucial part of the whole job. Now, remember when I said that once you put that transmission fluid in, that you go over about a half a quart after it's been measured into the container? You do, if it's 3 quarts in the container, you do another half quart or so. Well, we've got 3.5 quarts in there now. Now, I have one of these Foxwell that I'll put in the link for to check your transmission temperature. But you don't need this. You can easily check your transmission temperature with one of these. And I'll show you how to do that, okay? So right now, my transmission temp is at 103. I need to be between 95 and I think 115, 114. But that's an accurate measurement of how hot the oil is in there. Surprisingly, because the oil was just put in. Now, I think part of that could be the warmth around that's in there. I don't know if it's the actual temp, but we're gonna go ahead and start the car, and then we're gonna run the gears a couple of times to get that new fluid going through all the gears. After we get it through all the gears, we're gonna see what temp we're at. And if we're at about 110, that'll be the point that I'll go under there and drain off that expanded excess fluid. And then that level stick that we put in there, that leveler, that dipstick, then we will know that that fluid had leveled itself out to that dipstick once we drain the expanded fluid out. This is how it works. There are other videos that show you how to do this as well that you can look at, but this is basically how it works. So I'm gonna go ahead and move forward with starting the car. I'm gonna keep an eye on this, hopefully I didn't. So, all right, well, we're just gonna not deal with that right now. So I'm gonna get in the car. I know I've got the fluid in there now. Everything is in there. gonna set the seat back. Okay, so I'm gonna start the car now. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna put our foot on the brake and we're gonna run the gears through, just like this. We're at 103. We're gonna do it again. I'm gonna do it one more time for good measure. Foot on the brake. Okay, we're at 106. So right now, it's actually a safe time to take it, to drain that nut. So I'm gonna go underneath. Remember what I said you could use one of these? We were at 106. Let's see where we're at when we measure this way. We're gonna measure toward the back of the transmission tank here, and we're at 95. So you know, if you're using one of these, go up about another 7 degrees or more. And I measure the whole thing. See that? Okay. So now, I'm going to drain that nut. We're at 107. Okay, so we're actually at a good temp. And what's going to happen is that expanded fluid is going to drain out. And then we're going to let it drain out to a trickle. Okay. Okay. Yeah, so now this would be a good time to drain it out. You don't have a lot of time between the time you put the fluid in and the time it gets hot enough to drain that fluid. Okay. Let me look at the temp one more time, see where we're at. All right, I think we're good. Let's do a check with this. I always get a little bit of OCD when I do this because got 98 out here, so we're about 7 degrees, 6 or 7 degrees higher on the Foxwell, on the scanner. All right, so we're gonna drain it out. Now, see, that's the excess fluid, guys. That's the expanded fluid that I was talking about. You see how it's not rushing out? That's because we got that other plug in there. Once all this fluid comes out, it comes down to a trickle. Then we put the plug back in and we tighten it. This is my second change, and I want to make sure I get it right when it starts to trickle out. Okay, it's trickling. I can see it wanting to stop here soon. There we go, trickle. And right when it gets right about Not there. Okay. Then I'm going to put this back on. And now we are done. We have put new fluid in a sealed transmission. So I'm gonna let that, I'm gonna go ahead and tighten that now. Move this out to the side. I got a new washer in there. There we go. And I just do it till it's nice and snug, tight snug. And that's it. I'm gonna let that run for a minute. Hopefully you saw all that. Okay. Whew. Boy. Let's see what temp we're at now. It's 111. So I did it at about 109, 110. That's good. Okay, guys. So you kind of get an idea on what it takes to change this transmission fluid. There is a guy called the Car Care Nut. He talks a little bit about how you have to jump the OBD2 with a wire. If you don't have a scanner. In the past, when I've done this oil, I've never done that. I don't think I've ever had any issues. So, but he knows a lot more about doing this than I do. So, hopefully I've answered all your questions, guys. I think that's it. Let me, what I'll do is I will put a link in the description for the pump that I use, and also the infrared, beam that I use. And maybe I'll put in the tools that you will need to do it as well, like the hex or all the fittings and extensions and stuff like that, just to get you going. You guys, this is very, very doable. If you're handy and you work in your garage all the time, or if you're not handy and you want to do this, you can do this, okay? I'm going to tell you, the dealership wanted to charge me, see if I can turn this around. Well, anyway, I can't. The dealership wanted to charge me close to $600 to do this. Now, granted, he's doing a full flush, okay? I did at least 2 changes on this. Not a full flush, but change intervals. That's still better than nothing. That's still very good. I may even go a third one. A third change on this will definitely get me cleaner fluid. Every time you do a change on it, you get cleaner fluid. Yes, it's extensive. Yes, you need all these tools. But once you have it, you get to do your own fluid once every 30,000 miles. That's when I do this. Once every 30,000 miles, guys. That's so important. So many people ignore their transmission fluid. They know they got oil. They know they got brake fluid. They know they got all these other fluids under their hood, but they often neglect the transmission fluid. Your transmission can last 300,000 miles if you change that fluid every 30,000 miles, okay? Especially on Hondas. They have the worst transmissions. Anyway, guys, that's it for now. I'm out. Please like the video if you like it. If you have comments, comment, subscribe, and don't forget that there will be a link. There'll be links below to get all this stuff so that you can go ahead and try this yourself. Look at other videos, guys. See how you can do this on your own. This is basically a DIY garage job. That's all it is. All right, guys. So you have a good one. Good luck, and thanks for watching.